Eventually, I might get the right screen. 24.
All right. I think I have this propensity to find movies that I really like that are impossible to find if you don't stream. So, full disclosure, I got a nice link to watch the movie because it's buried somewhere under my bed and I don't have a way to watch it anyway because I don't have a player. Um, because these newfangled computers don't have a disk drive anymore. Needless to say, not really an option. I guess I could use the PS4 in the living room, but no. Um, that being said, I had a little bit of an issue because the link I was sent did not work. So I had to scramble to try to find a movie that I pretty much know front and back, just so I can see it again to make sure it holds up. It does. And maybe some jokes now that probably wouldn't fly in today's society. Several of them, actually. Weirdly enough, one of the biggest problems is some of the things that Jeff Goldblum says at the end to Jamie Foxx, among other things. So I guess I'll try my best to find movie club picks that are easily watchable for those of us like me, which there's not very many that don't like to stream. But there were plenty of streaming options for the movie if I wanted to pay $4.
A surprising amount of people found moving violations, more than I was anticipating.
Yeah. Stuff like this makes me want. There is a movie that I do want to bring to movie club that I kind of wish I could bring to people's attention, but I find it really funny. But the problem is, I think everybody would have to use the same link because I've not seen it outside of that link. I've never seen a video of this outside of one link. So, sadly, I don't think I'll ever be able to bring this movie to movie club. So, it's your cold open, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition, episode 24 of Popcast Movie Club, exclusively here on the Popcast Network. My name is Owen. Joining me, as always, we have AJ.
Yeah, I remember I was with you when you found the Great White Hypes DVD.
Yep.
And it was like you were on a treasure hunt you didn't know you were on. You just kind of came across it, and it was like this really big deal. I don't think I had heard of it at that time, despite the cast. Because despite the cast, you wouldn't think how kind of under the radar this movie is.
Yeah, I mean, and probably in another world, this would be a cult classic. But there's not enough people to even know its existence.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy because I've always been a fan of boxing movies. Creed just hit almost $60 million this weekend. So, what better time to talk about the Great White Hype? Which is funny because now if you've seen the movie, you understand what I say when I say it's very interesting that we're pairing these together in the same day. You watched Creed 3 because laying it out bare bones, that's kind of the beginning of the story of Creed 3.
I was thinking that I got back from Creed 3 like an hour and a half ago. And yeah, there were times where I was getting that vibe. I had a severe deja vu.
Same here. So the director of this is actually someone who wrote a movie that is one of my guilty pleasures and something that I get a lot of heat for to this day, and I don't know how well it's aged in the time that it's been out because it came out in 1992, so 4 years before the Great White Hype, and that's Bebe's Kids.
Oh God.
The Robin Harris movie. One of my guilty pleasures growing up was on HBO at like, I don't know, like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Also, he was the director of The Ladies' Man, the Tim Meadows movie based on the SNL character of the same name. So yeah, he directed Boomerang, the Eddie Murphy movie.
I'm kind of waiting for you to bring up the one he's probably most well known for.
Oh, I'm looking at the name. Well, I'm looking at the ones here. He produced Django, actually.
Which is very funny given the cast of this movie.
Very true. He's acted in most of those movies too, actually. But it's interesting because you look at Peter Berg and you think like he has turned into a fantastic director.
Mm.
And we talked about that previously. Now we're talking about an acting performance. And Irish Terry Conklin in his Mikey Whipwreck hair is always going to be a character that I'm going to remember. I know this movie front and back. It's something that I found. It was just because I like boxing and I like the cast. I had no knowledge of it, like you alluded to a few minutes ago. And I fell in love with this movie like right away. It hit everything I needed. It had all the acting, it had all the comedy, it had all the action. I just like boxing movies, period. Always have.
At least half of the action in the movie is just when Damon Wayans is watching Dolomite.
Smoking a cigarette and he's like watching the horrible Rudy Ray Moore fight scenes in Dolomite. He's like, now I'm mad. Let's go. And here comes Method Man, which, well, not something I'm bringing up on May 1st, but I'll always have a correlation with Method Man.
As soon as I saw him come out, my first thought was, I wonder how it feels watching this now that you've pissed him off in real life.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't have access to his J's back then. Anyway, or a water cannon. I was just telling stories on the street. Needless to say, yeah, I really dig this movie, and I was very happy to bring it to Movie Club. It was one of those movies that I knew was coming to Movie Club when this concept came up. It was going to be The Late Shift. It was going to be Airheads, and most definitely going to be Brain Scan. And this movie was going to be high on that list as well.
To finish what I was talking about earlier, the Reginald Hudlin movie that I imagine he's most known for is probably House Party, isn't it?
You are correct. It was his first one.
I'd probably say so, yeah. He did a lot, though, to be fair, over the sort of 90s, 2000 period.
Well, a lot of stuff that's kind of forgettable. I mean, like stuff like Serving Sarah and like I Have a Connection from the past, and
I'd put Serving Sarah under guilty pleasures probably.
Yeah, it's not bad. Maybe I don't know if it would hold up now, but maybe.
I doubt it.
Yeah, most likely. Before we go into Movie Club, I do want to make mention that Chris isn't here tonight because he's got work to take care of. But he does have note skis that AJ has been given, so he'll be giving his commentary as well.
Yeah, they're very nice and organized. I've got the window with his notes right under the 3 windows on Discord.
Nice. So, as always, we start in with chat. Josie, hey, Popcast team would make a good double feature with basketball as far as satirizing the business world of sports. Same with Moneyball. Josie, I love basketball, and I honestly think that it's probably coming to Movie Club at some point. If someone doesn't bring it there, I probably will. And fun fact, because of basketball, I've known the existence of Real Big Fish and actually got to see them live. They were the first band I saw at Warped Tour. The final year of the Warped Tour was going down. That was cool. Sam Jackson's character meets a man with shoulder-length black hair, black suit, and he's like, "Hey, Vincent, where's Jules, man?" Love the pulp. Love the pulp. Take a shot. The Pulp Fiction reference.
Yeah, we talked about Reginald Hudlin being a producer on Django, and it is the Tarantino fan in me. Normally, it's low-hanging fruit, so I don't really like the whole oh, this person was in another movie kind of thing. Like you can watch Creed 3 and say, oh, it's Killmonger fighting Kang and shit like that.
Yeah.
I'm not usually into that, but the Tarantino superfan in me was like, it's so interesting to see Django intimidated by Steven, like he is in this movie.
Yeah.
So that in that case, I couldn't help it. Yeah.
That's fair. John Lovitz mentions when watching the film of Tommy Morrison being knocked out, he's John Wayne's cousin. Actually, John Wayne's grandnephew. Many of the cast were in Rock. I remember watching Rock on Fox back in the early 90s. Hold on to your butt seemed like something that Fred Sultan would say to a boxer. Damon Wayans and Jamie Foxx, of course, in Living Color. One of the best sketch comedy shows of all time.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the Jackson Goldblum connection. There's so many reunions in this.
I know.
Reunions and then future reunions from this.
And I'm sorry, but I just like seeing stuff like Corbin Burnson and John Lovitz and Cheech Marin. I mean, they're such small roles, but they're so pivotal. And Jamie Foxx before he became Jamie Foxx.
Yeah. I love the running joke about how he has to constantly look into the camera when he talks.
The thing
are you a little camera shy, aren't you? It's like a little bit. I'm just kind of getting used to it and everything.
the thing I was most enamored by in terms of Fox is the actual duet at the end with Rudy Ray Moore. I was just like, yes.
Oh yeah, that was great. And of course the Rudy Ray Moore like video at the credit sequence as the movie's ending.
Talking about Reginald Hudlin having made Boomerang, and then all this talk of Rudy Ray Moore is making me realize the only person missing from this movie is Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, it's true. Josie brings up Earth Girls Are Easy, another Damon Fox combination.
Was Fox in that?
I believe so. Yes. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it in many decades, but yes.
I noticed, Owen, a lot of the times when you pick a movie, mainly this one and Airheads, and now the Earth Girls Are Easy has been brought up, I feel like we're really hitting, like, in talking about Peter Berg and Peter Berg in comedy territory, we're really hitting all of the movies Comedy Central used to play constantly.
They used to play this a lot, actually. They played it at, like, I think, like 9 a.m. before we lost access to Comedy Central, remember?
Yeah, I think the first time I saw this was on, like, one of the early on-demand channels.
Yep.
But I feel like I remember seeing pieces of it on Comedy Central, like I did many movies.
Like back in the day, if you want to go back in the day, obviously you know what I'm talking about, the shoot that was revealed in the Cable Guy, where you slip the Cable Guy $50, he'll give you all the movie channels for free, even the dirty ones. That's a shoot, by the way, and most of my family had those cheer boxes. How do you think I watch wrestling, and how do you think I watch movies back in the day?
While we're on the topic of everything being connected and off the radar comedies, did you also get because I feel like we're two of the only people that know this movie even exists, and I've seen it a billion times.
Same.
Do you get a kick out of one of the things they do to make Terry seem overly Irish is put him in Celtics gear?
Yes.
To see Damon Wayans against the
Celtic pride. Yes.
Like wherever Damon Wayans and the Celtics are together, he's always against them.
I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, I mean, you can't go wrong with literally the Slaughterhouse remix of Chicken Huntin' being the music that plays Peter Berg out when he first gets introduced. It's actually made it to the soundtrack.
I did love when you watch. I don't know how many people watched all the way at the end of the credits, but when the soundtrack list rolls, instead of saying songs at the top like it usually does, it says the jams.
The jams, yeah. I mean, this movie was a product of its time, even down to Brian Setzer doing Danny Boy at the end. That was cool.
I did just love the progression of how they went in on like a new Irish stereotype every time.
He had the little people. They were eating the knockoff Lucky Charms.
You did
I think
recognize the little people, though, right?
they looked very familiar, but I got to remember where
I
they're from.
swear one of them was Peter Dinklage.
I will. He's uncredited if that's the case.
One of them looks very Dinklage-esque, which would fit because it'd be about 5 or 6 years before Station Agent.
She McBride was one of the people in the crowd. Blinking if you'll miss him.
Yeah, he bookended the wanting to start a fight with people.
It's so good. I mean, a little bit more conversation before we go any further. Josie says Fred Sultan based off Don King. Yep, that's very obvious. It's great when you get Fred Roper's introduction scene when he is literally just. Which I love the fact that his boxing at the very beginning of the movie, Damon Wayans is literally just shadow boxing in front of a green screen, and then all of a sudden it pans out and you actually see what's going on, and then you notice he Mike Tyson's it up big time, down to the lisp and the cadence of the voice and the sound. But obviously, when he's talking to Fred and everybody back in the hotel room, he's got his regular voice.
Yeah, I thought it was, and I noticed this with Berg later too. I had no idea if it was intentional or not, but that first interview with Wayans and then later on with Berg, I was getting Sandler vibes. Is that
like when he would go on Weekend Update and he would perform like Opera Man and stuff like that?
Now that you mention it, the Tyson thing makes a lot more sense.
Well, it was based off. It was also loosely based off Tyson, one of Tyson's comeback fights.
Yeah, that and the one that's referenced. The Larry Holmes versus Jerry Cooney.
Yep.
Yeah, I was definitely getting early '90s Sandler vibes.
Oh yeah, dude, I totally remember that Peter McNeely fight. Oh man, it's not an incorrect statement. Fred Sultan said it best. People are tired of watching people like beat up other people. They want to see a difference. And so, in the same day that AJ watched Creed 3, in the same week that I watched Creed 3, we had the creation of a different challenger than you normally would face in the boxing world. Kind of like you have a lot of stereotypes, and this movie is very racial, obviously, even though it's played up to not be, but that's the joke. So, and I love the fact that when Terry is like doing his photo shoot and everything before the girls come in, he's got his Irish flag and everything. He's like, I'm not Irish. He's like keeps presenting this fact as like, I'm not Irish, and John looks like, you know what, Irish just means joy. It's okay.
Yeah, I think the thing that got me first was, like I said, what's funny is the progression of the Irish stereotypes and how they get more hardcore as they go. But I love the very first one, right after he says, "I'm not Irish," they introduce him with bagpipes.
They throw in the bagpipes. He's wearing the kilt. He's got white gloves. Cheech Marin's character based off the WBC president Jose Sullivan. Yeah, I get that too. Brian says, I'll say this, kind of an entertaining movie. Editing was good. Didn't know Goldblum and Fox were in this. Sally Richardson's hot. Yeah, you're just bringing that knowledge every time, Brian. I mean, not wrong, but you don't have to necessarily state the obvious.
Like, was she the one that was changing the tapes out?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I did like that joke where it's like, because it's honestly, as dated as it might be, it is a funny joke in itself that that's her job so that she can keep bending over. But then they balance it out by her being the smartest person in the room. So
of course. Jason Fleming originally auditioned for Conklin. Asked to strip to the place and shadow box. He sneezed because of the cold and smeared snot over himself to the cameraman's disgust. Jesus. Josie, you always can find the inner references.
I could see Fleming doing this. I don't know if I could see him going as over the top as Berg did in some cases. Like I don't know if I can visualize rock star Jason Fleming. That's kind of odd.
Well, it's like we've had this conversation before, and when you go up to castings that never happen, obviously you think of stuff like Chris Farley as Shrek, which of course we now we've heard what it would have sounded like, and Shrek forever and a day is going to be Mike Myers now, no matter what. Well, it's funny because it goes back to the fact that there's always going to be somebody like Nick Cage. Like when Nick Cage was going to Ring of Honor and trying to get all the information to try to do the wrestler, and he was like, I can't do this. Which Nick Cage's wrestler character would have been very interesting. His Randy the Ram would have been completely different from Mickey Rourke.
Yeah, I feel like the Nicolas Cage now wouldn't have given up.
No, not at all. Oh, the cinematographer also did Twin Peaks Firewalk with me.
I guess with some of those sort of shots in the desert at the very start.
Oh, the scorpions fighting each other, and then the Burham Road rolls over the top of them.
Yeah, but that aspect seems very sort of Twin Peaksian to some extent.
Yeah, when I first saw the movie and I saw the desert and I saw them panning on scorpions, I was scared to death we were gonna get snake shot. Bruce Campbell said, "Serving Sarah served no one." Ouch. Charles Rosen, the production designer of the movie, also did Free Willy, My Stepmother is an Alien, Broadcast News. Hey, shout out to last night. Flashdance, Boy, and My Favorite Year.
That's a very eclectic group.
Extremely eclectic group. Yeah.
Also, while we're talking about this tying into current events, like Creed 3 happening, there was something about, was it $40 million for the fight that got brought up?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I could be wrong. I may have heard wrong. Did I hear 40 million is also what Chris Rock just got for his new special?
That sounds right.
Sounds about right.
It's such a specific number, and it's funny to just hear it so soon again.
I mean, I haven't got a chance to watch it yet. I want to. But I want to know how much it differs from... Obviously, the Will Smith stuff is something he kind of glanced over when I saw him. But I wonder how much of the rest of the bits were things I saw a couple months ago.
There's one bit you told me about that's not in it.
No.
So I'm curious what he added or what he cut out from what you said.
Yeah, we're at the time of the year now that we start getting comedians coming to the area, like for the rest of the year. So I may get another shot at people that I need to see live in person. I mean, there's a big list, but a lot of them don't do stand-up much anymore. So I guess we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I mean, I've always had a kinship with this movie. I mean, you have boxing, you've got the ICP connection, you've got the great cast. It's super funny. I mean, this was always going to be something I was going to cling to.
There's a name we haven't mentioned yet. We probably should. I forgot that a co-writer on this was Ron Shelton, who is like literally the king of sports movies, basically.
Oh, Bull Durham, yeah.
Yeah, Bull Durham, Tin Cup, Play to the Bone.
Oh, that's another one. That's another one I really love. You want to talk about an awesome final boxing scene? Play It to the Bone.
I had notes prepared and everything ready to do a versus with Play It to the Bone and Warrior, and for some reason I never shot it. That was like 3 years ago.
Get on that. White Men Can't Jump.
Yeah.
He wrote Blue Chips.
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood Homicide. That's funny from back in the day. Yeah, it's interesting.
Like most recently, he was exec producer on Spaceman, about one of the MLB pitchers. And of course, Bad Boys 2. That combined with Hollywood Homicide probably ruined his career.
Well, I mean, it's funny. Like John Rhys Davies is in this movie too, and it's kind of a small role, but it's important.
was so
The
weird to
extremely racist boxing trainer.
It was so weird to hear him not speak posh. It's like,
He's anything but in this movie.
oh, wow. He wasn't Cockney. He was just sort of like generic sort of British boxing trainer style.
I like the names for him too. I was trying to remember. He got called Mr. French first, which is funny. And then what was
Mr. French Bob.
Yeah, and then what was the Pavarotti one? There was like an adjective in them Pavarotti, but I can't remember what it was.
I think it was sit your Pavarotti looking ass down.
Oh, maybe it was just that.
Something basic, but it was still there.
Yeah, basic, but still quite funny.
Oh, good. He is going to be in Indiana Jones 5.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I also like how this plays up boxing culture at this time too.
Yeah, and when you take into account that Jake Paul and Tommy Fury probably made the same amount of money pay-per-view and box office wise by going to Saudi Arabia on a Sunday like 2-3 weeks ago for not even a full sort of 12 rounds. It did go the full distance. It went to points and whatever, but it shows you that it's still a thing. It's now adapted to basically be the sort of white collar style boxing that is trendy now and then, now sort of beginning to seep through into the mainstream by having all these celebrity things. I don't mind like the charity ones, like I see with some of the YouTubers that I think there's one due to happen either this month or next month, but all the proceeds from the event are going to charity. Whereas if it involves the pools, it ain't going to charity.
I mean, this is also, like it was mentioned before, this is in the In Living Color range too. And I've been watching Damon Wayans since he started his career. Back to I'm Gonna Get You Sucker and stuff like Blank Man. And we talked about Celtic Pride.
Well, there was one direction I wanted to go because the word satire was brought up,
right?
And charities were brought up just now.
Yes.
As somebody who has loved this movie unconditionally for quite some time,
yes.
Do you think there's a lot of places where it like holds back? Where like it could have gone further with what it does, but it's pretty. I mean, one of the things my brother mentions is that he likes the fact that there was a simplicity to it, like and that the plot was easy to follow and didn't overcomplicate itself.
Right.
And I do like that, but as far as like there's something. First of all, I felt like it keeps teasing that it's gonna go darker than it does.
Yeah, I can see that.
They build up Sultan as this really dark character. Guns continuously get whipped out.
Yes.
There's the moment where Goldblum is going into the room and he's terrified for his life. But I feel like that never really goes. They don't really elaborate much on that. And then there's jokes like I'm assuming it's a joke. The scene where they're talking about Roper's charities.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd basically rather beat the shit out of that guy than talk about his charity work.
Right.
What was that? Like that's the only scene that references that.
Like, okay, we could have got like a little bit of a backstory about the original fight. It's alluded to, but it's never really like it could have done a flashback that could have worked. It can be an extremely racist movie. But for 1996, they didn't push the envelope as far as they could have. It's weird because I know the title of the movie is The Great White Hype, so you're expecting Conklin to lose in the end. But the narrative was there that what if he won? What would have happened? this story I don't feel like could have worked the same way if he would have won.
This might sound generic, but I mean, I'm really married to this idea.
Okay.
Especially when you bring up the idea of satire.
Right.
And what you're talking about, the sort of racial tension where it's like it's trying not to be, but it is, but it's also you got like the way it's a continuous joke where Terry keeps telling everybody to stop being racist.
Yes.
This would have been an incredible Spike Lee movie.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like Spike would have taken it that sort of darker route that I feel like this one didn't quite push towards. But the comedy and the satire would have definitely still been there.
I really felt we were building towards Jamie Foxx getting shot. Always thought someone was going to accidentally shoot Jamie Foxx. It really felt like he was going to shoot himself accidentally, or the gun was going to go off, and we lose Jamie Foxx.
And the intentions of John Lovitz, I feel like, could have gone farther than they did.
Yeah, he lost his job. He could have tried to get back at him. He's like, no. It's like, no, come here.
Yeah, there was
for a second.
Like, it felt like there should have been a lot more between him and Goldblum as the story went on.
Yeah.
But it feels like there's a lot of, like, stuff here, but it's... Yeah.
I think it was Ebert that said that it felt at the end like there was a reel missing. Some things got cut that could have been in there. Like, I love the fact that when Terry's getting ready and you can see that he's getting in great shape and he's cutting his promos and everybody's fawning over him and we're getting the scenes of everybody like putting $2 on him and everything like that. And it's like, oh, this is going to be great. Money's going to go through the roof. And then, of course, you see James Grim Reaper Roper running. And what is he running? He's running after an ice cream truck.
with his very clearly fake fat.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
I like how everybody is like turned off by the fact that he has basically gained another person.
And I'm curious. That Ebert comment's interesting because I'm wondering what exactly he's referring to. Because one of the things my brother brings up that I also agree with is he wrote, "I thought the ending feeling epic, only to be 27 seconds was hilarious."
And that's also playing into boxing culture back then because people paid $50 to watch a fight that lasted seconds.
Yeah.
And they ate it up. There were people that were upset, but they couldn't do anything about it. They were getting their money back.
So yeah, that's definitely a great use of like satire of the industry and stuff like that. I'm going to assume what Ebert was referring to was the other plot threads because the fight being really short is too good. So
no, the great thing is the big thing that he had going for him. What won Golden Gloves back when they were 17 was that overhand right. And gets off that lucky punch and Wayne sells, and the next thing you know, it's like, you're trying to embarrass me on TV, and he just beats his ass after that.
I love that that's subtitled.
It is priceless. They play for comedy, and a Spike Lee version of this movie would have been played pretty serious, I would think.
I feel like he would have found a pretty perfect balance.
It would have been an extremely dark comedy.
Yes.
And someone definitely would have died.
Yeah, like not the darkness of Bamboozled, and I don't think it's just Damon Wayans in my subconscious saying that, but
I know what you mean.
But yeah, the way Bamboozled showed the way he can do satire is what I think something like this probably needed. And obviously, we know Bamboozled does have a very, very dark ending, to put it mildly. But yeah, something in that vein, I feel like could have made this even more. Because there's something about, because we know Spike Lee's such a massive sports fan anyway, particularly basketball, but still, the combination of him and Ron Shelton, I feel like there could have really been something there. Like it almost feels like something that's already happened, but I don't think it has. But one I was gonna note one other thing I wrote down, even that we were talking about the plot threads, some of them feel like dead ends. One of the things that I wrote down that I like is the pacing of it, because not only is because sometimes a movie can be short but doesn't feel short. This movie is short and feels short.
It's an hour 31 with credits. So the version I saw, the stream that I saw would have been like, it cut off like an hour, like 22. So it was a shade under 90 minutes. It was an easy watch. It's always been easy watch for me because, I mean, I still can quote it. And obviously, can't say those things on here, and I wouldn't say them anyway. But I mean, I know those lines so well. And it's funny because this also ties into something that happened 3 years prior for me. Since the entire film basically takes place at the MGM Grand. This is showing the MGM Grand of 1996, or 1995 in this case. And they were famous for like the lion entrance and the Wizard of Oz gimmick inside and the Grand Adventures theme park in the back and the food court with some of the best pizza I've ever had in my life, which I'll never have again. And I remember when I went to Vegas with my family going to the MGM Grand, and then when I saw it on the big screen, I was like, yes, this is 100% what I remember seeing when I was out there. And I thought that was cool too, because it's like now when I watch movies that were set in LA, I'm like, I've been there. I know exactly where you are right now. And that's another connection you can have to the movie too.
Yeah. As far as there was something I forgot to mention that I really want to mention.
Okay.
As far as how it could have gone darker, my brother brings up something that honestly I didn't even think about, but it's a really good point.
Okay.
He says one of his favorite things was that basically Sultan is the main character of the movie.
Completely.
While also basically being the villain of the movie.
Also correct.
And he does not get a comeuppance. And not only does he not get a comeuppance, he ends the movie better than he started. That's what my brother wrote down.
He's exactly like Don King. He really is.
Don King literally killed somebody. Sultan could have too.
Yeah, it seemed like it was kind of building to it. Like you were talking about the scenes with Goldblum when he pulls out the gun and he uses it to light a cigar.
Yeah.
And at this point, it feels like Goldblum would have pissed himself because he was so scared.
Yeah, another thing my brother wrote down was he loved how Goldblum just sold out immediately. How he's literally Goldblum is literally two different characters in this movie from where he starts and where he ends.
He has journalistic integrity until the money comes out.
Making it even funnier that Sultan never changes and ends up better.
And it's great because after he talks to Sal, it was kind of like, okay, maybe Fred is ready for a fall. Maybe I can be a boxing promoter. And then he basically tells Fred, he's like, yeah, I signed the new heavyweight champion of the world, Terry Conklin, to be my first client. And Fred laughs it off. And then as the fight is over, he goes over and he's like, wait a minute. He pulls the Dirk Benedict. He pulls the body slam reference. Because he's like, you know what you need in music? A manager. So he's like, so I'm going to guess that Jeff Goldblum went on to becoming Terry Conklin's manager at some sort of dive bar in Cleveland. And God knows where that career went. Because I have a good feeling that Marvin Jabaz knocked James Reaper's head off in that next fight, 100%. Especially if it was that fast. But because I would think Fred would want the money as quick as possible. So it was like, Yeah, you don't have time to get into shape. Let's go. The fight was in August. Yeah, you guys can go in October. It's okay. He's 2 months. You'll be fine. No more ice cream.
You know, the last thing my brother wrote down was that the Grim Reaper is a cool name for a boxer, which I agree.
Yeah, we'll more chat messages here. So Josie's doing a face-off with other characters.
Mhm.
James Roper versus Rocky.
I mean, Rocky's probably got a lot more experience. Rocky's a lot more devoted to it. which Roper are we talking about?
I would say we're talking Roper at the beginning of the movie when he was like ruling people left and right. 38 fights undefeated.
Yeah, but how many of them were first round knockouts?
Yeah, he's not going to knock out Rocky in the first round. And we don't know if Roper has the ability to go full time because his cardio is trash, obviously.
And we also don't know which Rocky we're talking about.
I mean, if it was Rocky in the beginning, I think Rocky would own him all day, every day. But Rocky, maybe. I think
the great thing about Rocky is that he's basically a different fighter in every movie.
Yeah. I guess, Josie, it depends on which Rocky shows up to face James Roper. And which James Roper we get, the beginning or the end. Apollo Creed versus Grim Reaper.
Oh my god, there'd be so much showboating.
Yeah. Fred saw.
Well, here's the thing. If Creed beat Rocky the first time, Creed could probably beat Roper.
I agree. Adonis Creed versus Grim Reaper.
I think Adonis could probably take him.
Yeah. An odd one. Grim Reaper versus Popeye.
Pre or post match?
Well, Popeye's got strength, but Popeye's not a trained boxer, Josie. Jesus, did I just give us a video clip for the podcast? Popeye's not a trained boxer, Josie. He's got the Rick Rude anchor tattoo, and he's got his big muscles and everything. So the question is, did Popeye fight at one point? Didn't he fight in the Ultimate version?
I think he just did what he does in the cartoon, just does the.
See, that's a funny little anecdote I want to throw out here, because I see Popeye. I got to be outside for the next 2 days, thank God, because it was make the days go by faster. But I got to be outside for the next 2 days at work, and one of the things I get to see characters wander to and fro. And one of my favorite things is when Popeye comes up, he looks like he wants to just beat your ass. He wants to square up every single time I see him. He just walks like this, like, oh God, this is the day he snaps.
Care for a fight for you.
Happen, but my God, I'm like, Popeye's gonna kick someone's ass today. And I love it. I laugh every time I see it.
In the fifth, your ass goes down.
There's no fifth. You won't make the fifth.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Josie, I mean, I think the fact that Ash Williams has a weapon and it is a literal chainsaw instead that would not have a boxing glove. That'd be funny with Ash Williams having a boxing glove on a chainsaw. That'd be hilarious. If he's not allowed to use the chainsaw, maybe. But if he's using the chainsaw, well, we're gonna get rid of that food baby real quick. Do we have it? Do you guys even want to chime in on Ash Williams versus James Roper?
I mean, even if he doesn't have the chainsaw, he's got the shotgun.
He does have the shotgun. Dang, you're right.
I would say I would make the fight against Roper and Ash's severed hand. That'd be more fair.
Ashley Let me chime in on this one. Luffy from One Piece.
Oh, Luffy's intelligent. Roper, I don't think has really got sense in him.
No.
I mean, he
Doesn't
just
seem
wants
like
to
it.
watch Dolomite rather than go for a fight.
I mean, it's not a bad thing to do instead of box.
He did. I don't know. After he watched Dolomite and showed up out of shape, he did win the fight.
Rather
Yeah, but
decisively too.
he would have won it anyway.
Yeah. I just love the fact that the little kid in the wheelchair who has the Irish flag and everything, the second that he goes down, he just drops the flag.
I don't know. I don't know what kind of person it makes me that seeing that kid's spirit break is so funny to me.
Oh, you mean like when Kramer promises the kid in the hospital that Paul O'Neill's getting a home run and catching his hat? Oh my God. It's like, you have to hit 2 homers and you have to catch it in your hat. And of course he dies right as he misses. I mean, like, yep. God really didn't like that kid.
And now we're in basketball territory.
James the Grim Reaper Roper versus Captain Jack Sparrow.
Once again, is this Jack without weapons?
This is punch drunk versus literal drunken punching.
I don't remember Jack getting into any physical fights without weapons that I can remember. He usually runs away. So Roper could probably take him because Jack runs away.
Yeah, but I don't know if Roper could catch up to him right now in the physical shape he is currently in.
Well, Roper will win the fight anyway because running away will be a forfeit.
That's true. Jack Skellington versus James Roper.
Jack Skellington survived an explosion.
Yeah. Speaking of fire, Hellboy.
Hellboy could take him.
Yeah. Sam Jackson versus Jamie Foxx Face Off.
Okay.
The films, not the performances.
Got it.
So we just picked the winner between the 2 films. Coach Carter or Any Given Sunday. Ooh, that's a tough one to start with.
I'm gonna say Coach Carter because Any Given Sunday makes me fucking nauseous.
Fair.
Not just Jamie Foxx constantly puking, but just the fucking eye scene and the bone crunch. Any Given Sunday's fucked up.
Accurate.
That's why I'm saying Any Given Sunday.
Any Given Sunday is extremely well made.
Yeah.
It just makes me fucking sick.
I'm going with Coach Carter as well. Ashley, you have an answer?
Oh,
Any Given Sunday, didn't I?
I said Any Given, yeah, because of how gross it is and sort of how it really doesn't want to hide away from like shit going wrong. Any Given Sunday.
The Long Kiss Goodnight or Booty Call?
Long Kiss Goodnight.
Long Kiss Goodnight.
I like Booty Call.
I love that those titles are basically opposites of each other.
Yeah. Unbreakable or Ali? That's a tough one.
I am more likely to rewatch Unbreakable, but Ollie is pretty great.
I'm going with Ali.
I'd just about edge it to Unbreakable, but that's the closest of the 3 so far for me.
School Days or The Truth About Cats and Dogs?
School Days, I think.
Probably School Days as well, yeah.
Yeah.
School Days has Giancarlo Esposito, which helps a lot.
I like The Truth About Cats and Dogs, but between those 2, yeah. What else we got? Patriot Games or Jarhead?
I'd say Jarhead.
Jarhead.
But I do love the Jack Ryan movies.
I'll give it slightly to Patriot Games. Was that the better of the 2? I can't remember. What was the other one?
They're in Present Danger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I go back and forth on those. Actually, they're pretty on par for me.
Mo Better Blues or Toys?
Oh God, My Better Blues easily. Toys is fucking creepy.
I like.
I really hate that movie.
I remember watching. Speaking of the pay-per-view channels, I remember watching it for the first time on one of those.
I prefer the scene where she's popping Denzel's back zits in Mo Better Blues to anything that's in Toys.
God dang. Strictly Business or Horrible Bosses.
Have I seen Strictly Business?
I don't think I have.
I don't think I have either.
I do like Horrible Bosses though.
Yeah.
I'd have to say that because I'm trying to remember if that was like the good comeback from him. I know he's done like the Sidney Poitier documentary and like stuff like that.
Josie goes, Time to Kill or Miami Vice?
I've watched A Time to Kill. I've rewatched A Time to Kill much more recently, but I've been meaning to rewatch Miami Vice for a while now. I feel like stylistically, I'd say Miami Vice for sure.
I'd probably go Time to Kill because it just feels like Miami Vice is just basically take the Miami Vice characters and put them in Heat.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
I'm good with it.
Yeah, but then at the same time, it's sort of like I don't think it is the same when it isn't Johnson and Michael Thomas, PMT, Michael Thomas.
Eve's Bayou or Ray?
Deep's Bayou.
I'm a huge mark for Ray, Josie.
I'll probably go with Ray as well.
Josie's like, Luffy is a total goofball and made of rubber, but he's super strong. These are the things that come up on these shows. But yeah, I mean, the jokes still hold up. The boxing scenes are good, even though there's not enough of them. But I understand why for this movie there's not that many, because there doesn't need to be.
And so you'll notice some of the best boxing movies have barely any boxing in them.
That
first
final
one being the key example.
I'll stick again. Play it to the bone. That final boxing scene.
Yeah, play it to the bone is 2 hours of build up to one boxing match.
Oh, it is a fight, my friend. Oh, I love boxing movies, but that one, that's a big one for me. And yeah, like you talk about like TV series like Entourage and things like that, and then you go back to we were talking about the HBO movies, and again, it's the newer version around this time would have been this is right before Sports Night started. I love that show. And before that, it was Arliss. And then like stuff like Unnecessary Roughness, things like that on like HBO, like the older stuff like 70s, 80s. And it's like I've always enjoyed sports in media, but never enjoyed watching sports.
I was just gonna ask. I know I'm the same way, but I don't know if I have much of an answer. Do you think you have any idea as to how that is?
No.
I mean, you could say it's easier to get invested if you're watching like the whole story of a character and then they're put in the sports setting, which is what a movie is. But people pretty much follow athletes the same way.
Yeah, it's like I've been following you since you were playing like high school ball and college ball, and like I've been watching all the way since you got to the pros. I've seen every single game you've played. I've been in attendance of every single fight you've had. It's the same thing. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, because I'm the same way. I'll watch sports movies all day,
Same.
But if I'm watching an actual sporting event for like 3 minutes, I want to jump out the window because I'm so fucking bored.
Yeah. I mean, other than wrestling, the only thing that really comes to mind that, I mean, I was into boxing for a minute, and I was like, weirdly enough, I was into basketball for a minute. I really followed the NCAA Final Four one year that the Minnesota Golden Gophers actually went to the went to the end. I thought that was super cool because I was always a fan of Minnesota because all my favorite wrestlers of all time came from Minnesota. So I was a fan of Minnesota teams. Didn't follow the games, but like, and I love the video games too. That's another thing too. Like the new games now, could never play them, but like the old games, like Baseball Stars on the Nintendo, where you basically just created a team and you just hit the A or B button to pitch or hit, and that was fine. And I remember like NBA Jam was like the big one right there. NBA Jam was something I think everybody played, whether you're a basketball fan or not. I remember playing Tyson's Punch Out. I sucked at it, but I played it.
You know, I guess I should clarify something. I just said if I'm watching 3 minutes of a sporting event, I'm so fucking bored I could jump out a window. There are two sports you might catch me watching, and they might be considered two of the most boring, but they are the two that hold my attention the most. On any day, you might catch me watching tennis or bowling. every other sport I cannot watch for some reason. I don't know what that is.
You know, I had a tennis phase for a while. I remember watching tennis. Of course, besides the obvious haha for people that know, I watched NASCAR before. I watched monster trucks. I mean, I watched those things back in the day. I never got into football. I always hated football. Always hated football.
I've watched so much bowling. I actually have a favorite player.
Oh my God! There's favorite bowlers.
Oh yeah, Chris Barnes is my guy by far.
I will always have a famous bowler just because of the infamous meme. Who do you think you are? I am.
Pete Weber is a fucking legend.
Good Lord, we're talking about freaking bowling now. Mini golf is fun to watch. If you get a chance to catch it, ESPN2 used to have like the mini golf championships at like middle of the afternoon.
I had no idea this was a thing.
Oh yeah, it is. So the joke in Dodgeball of ESPN 8 the Ocho is basically a shoot. It's just not existent anymore. The most random sports at the weirdest time of the day. And then, of course, the GOAT of all time, Nickelodeon Games and Sports.
Yes.
Rest in peace. Love that freaking channel. Oh my God. I mean, like Jason Lee playing NHL hockey in Mallrats. Like, I did that too. I created a team. I actually played NHL. I think it was 95 maybe. That's the only game I was big into like the X Games. That's one thing I will watch. I'll watch the X Games. I was big into figure skating for a while because that's where I got the love for Tanya Harding. Because I like the heels sometimes when it comes to sports. But weirdly enough, I never liked Dale Earnhardt. I was always the big babyface Bill Elliott fan in NASCAR. Never liked Gordon either. He's too much of a punk. Tony Stewart reminded me way too much of somebody. So it was kind of like, no, I'm going to like him either. But, I mean, like, I could talk NASCAR back in the day and everything. That was something I really enjoyed. And it's just like, hated football. I dipped into baseball for a bit, but not really. UFC, like, when it first started, back before MMA was like, everywhere and, like, there was underground fight clubs pretty much anywhere in the world. I mean, you basically just got a license so you could just beat people up. Needless to say, when it first started, like the original UFCs with Dan Severn and Ken Shamrock and Oleg Taktarov, I remember watching those. The UWFI, the shoot wrestling stuff, I remember watching that. I remember being really invested in Mike Tyson when he fought Donovan Razor Ruddock. That was entertaining. I was around for that. The stuff with Holyfield. I
I,
mean,
I was always afraid to watch boxing as a kid from being squeamish.
someone's gonna die. Well, I went to the Tough Man competitions when I was growing up too. My dad brought me to them.
Yeah, I went to one or two.
Yeah. Brian said he thought you were going to say golf.
I don't think I would hate golf, but you wouldn't really catch me watching it either.
Brian says Little League Baseball. I like the video games. That's one thing I did kind of back in like the 90s. I really enjoyed like the video games. Like NBA Jam was like one of my favorite things. And one of the things in the I can't say the dying days of MTV when it actually still believed in music videos, there was this wonderful thing called Rock and Jock. And I remember we used to watch it in that, where they had basketball games with celebrities and actual players. And always thought that was entertaining. And it kind of, they also did like the gimmicks of like the 20, 25 point shots, kind of like an NBA Jam. So I got that vibe as well. So that was something that was always fun. I mean, I enjoyed playing volleyball. I never wanted to watch it though. But yeah, I've never been really athletic with sports.
Oh yeah, I still wake up in cold sweats with nightmares about gym class. Like it's bad.
The gym teacher ticked me off. So it's like, we're going to run around the gym today. And I'm like, nope, I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to walk as slow as I can. And every single time that I crossed the line, I just looked at him. And I remember the first day they were trying to teach us how to wrestle. Gym class. Got down in the position, put the guy in a rear chin lock. Sorry.
Yeah, I was the guy where my favorite part of gym class was table tennis. So, that was
We used to play extreme table tennis. We used to actually hit that. We used to make sure it connected on the actual surface. We would hit it all the way across the gym. We basically play it like it was actual tennis, but with a ping pong ball. I wish I would have been able to be in gym class when they were doing DDR because I know a lot of the other people got a chance to do that.
it was right when I was on my way out of school they were doing it.
Yeah, a little bit before my time. But yeah, it's a random conversation as we talk about the Great White Hype. But yeah, it's like Josie brings up basketball. You know, it's coming sooner rather than later.
It's got a versus already, but
Yeah,
there you go.
check out that video if you haven't yet. So, I mean, yeah, the jokes still hit. I still remember the lines. It does what it needs to do. It's a product of its time. The music itself as well. I like the way they use the music in the movie too. It's got a lot of great actors in it that either were just about to break out or just broken out, and this was just prolonging the fact that they were inevitably going to become even bigger down the line.
Yeah, it's crazy how you actually see this somewhat often where you can go back to movies like this that really haven't been seen by anybody, and it was like everybody just as they were getting huge or right before they were.
Right. When you were only known for X amount of things, and now you're like known for everything.
Like it makes me wonder if Jackson had won the Oscar for Pulp Fiction, if he would have been in this, or if he would have been doing something more prestigious at the time.
Perhaps. Parsnip Burger chimes in 1996, never saw The Great White Hype. but my favorite films were Secrets and Lies, Beautiful Thing, Fargo, Love Serenade, Independence Day, Shine, Fly Away Home, Marvin's Room, and other than Fargo, my favorite one on this list, The People versus Larry Flint.
Yeah.
Really dug that movie, actually.
I love how much Independence Day sticks out in that list.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it's like a big action sci-fi movie from the '90s, but Independence Day is legit good.
Yeah.
Like it gets some shit, and I get it, but I love Independence Day.
Yeah, it is a solid movie. And Parsnip Burger, thank you for coming in and throwing your 2 cents down on your favorite films of the year of 1996. We always appreciate that. We appreciate everybody in chat, Josie and Brian, showing up and showing out like they always do, asking questions, leaving their commentary. I would say Josie's improv game will return Monday, as long as Chris is with us for that show, which I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I'll have to look into exactly because his schedule's gonna change soon.
Mm-hmm.
I figure we just talk about that later.
Yeah, of course. So Ashley, you've chimed in a bit, but I'm curious to see what your thoughts on the Great White Hype are. And have you ever seen it before? Heard of it before? Did it come out in the UK?
It has a very limited DVD release from like 10 years ago, but it's not on any streaming site. Yeah, like it is available to rent very vividly in America. They don't even, the fact that it's Fox, even Disney Plus is like nope. So
I'm sorry, I just throw these really random movies
yeah.
and no one's ever of.
That's why I'm having to check now. My submission for when we do the vote again in 2 weeks for the next, rota, which will be intersped with the viewer's choice one. I had to double check today, like, is it available at least on a somewhat prolific service in America?
Or can a link be sent to me at the drop of a dime?
Well, that's easy enough as well. It's not as hard to come by compared to this was.
I'm just good with that. Apparently, coming up with all these ones that are hard to find. My archive.org site actually did not come through for me this time.
All in all, I liked it. I didn't think it was like excellent, but I didn't think it was like bad either. I sort of like what it was trying to do with the whole sort of. It's not sports washing, but it's sort of like fixing it and sort of like purposefully doing it so. Because I've seen that in boxing because I've been following it for years. You often see like somebody who probably should be the number one contender being surpassed either within the boxing board itself or the other boxing boards getting ignored because it's not for their belt. You're seeing that sort of less so with now the fact that the belts are sort of undisputed and they're not like spread over multiple people as often now, which to some extent is a shame because then it means you'd have more prolific fights. But it seems like at least now the fights that we're getting are sort of delivering on that aspect. It's less so like trying to find an easy opponent. But it was nice to see sort of these little bits of like Jeff Goldblum just playing himself basically until like it got to the bit, because I don't think Jeff Goldblum would be that snake in the grass like, yeah, I'll sell myself out if it means I can make a shit ton of money. I don't think he's that sort of guy. He just does whatever the shit he wants pretty much. But nice little tidbits from there. Apparently it wasn't Peter Dinklage, it's just somebody that looked pretty similar to him.
I bet Dylan would have been in the movie if it would have been a couple of years later.
Maybe more likely Puppet or any of the
Yeah,
pint-sized brawlers because of the time
possibly.
frame. But yeah, it was a nice sort of enjoyable film, especially sort of with the ending, with the whole. Oh, it looks as if your manager is out of commission. I'm gonna take over. Do you want a Rolls Royce instead of your Merlot Bago?
It's a Cadillac.
And all that. The one subtle touch I also liked as well is when all the crazy music was happening every time the interview at the very start of the Grim Reaper's interview. Every time it went to Samuel L., put in like the jazz and sort of church music, and then it'd abruptly cut out when the camera goes off the Sultan, and vice versa. You know, just
I don't think I ever noticed that.
yeah, it was just as much as like it just like hard. It was like press pause, hard cut. When it was just the reporter and Grim Reaper, and then da 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 da, and then when he briefly come back, it was like da da da. You know, he sort of like briefly come in for like half a second. Therefore, proving though that half the time it isn't about the boxers; it's just about the promoter getting his money because he loves you, and by he loves you, he means he loves money. So yeah, enjoyable. You know, I wouldn't reject to watching it again, but it's not. I was gonna say it's not something I'd rush to, but considering how inaccessible it is, I probably can't rush to.
That's fair.
At least for you guys, like you can rent it and purchase it on Amazon or that stuff. Over here, it's like, what are they interested in? They're interested in good films. Well, Great White Hope's a good film. Yeah, but we've got to put Blackbird on with Michael Flatley because he's God. I know he might be having sort of health issues and whatever, but eventually that's going to come up. I might have to. I'm going to save that for like April Fool's Day next year.
Good God, my mom's birthday.
I just found out today that apparently this Friday we're finally getting Lunana a yak in the classroom. 14 months after.
I'm watching Scream 6 for the second time Friday. AJ, you've been around me long enough to know how much I love this movie, and I introduced you to it. And I'm curious to see if you think, since your eyes are fresh on it now, because we've had a rewatch now within the last like 24 hours. Does it still hold up? Is it still as funny as it was? Your thoughts, final thoughts on the movie, and then I got a parsnip burger question.
Yeah, there's some stuff that's really funny.
Yeah,
like I was almost doubled over when he came out to the bagpipes, and then I almost doubled over again for the Danny Boy national anthem.
Brian said
that. And yeah, but yeah, I my big thing is just that it could go harder.
Yeah,
than it does. But it's a really like fast-paced and easy watch also. And my brother's pretty much final thoughts here would be he thinks it's very good overall. And he brings up the surprisingly big name cast and how all the characters are funny in different ways. How it's not just like one joke for every person. So yeah, I can get behind that too.
Cool. Parsnip Burger has a question for everyone. How do you figure out which movie club film to do?
I don't really have a particular method. Just whatever I feel like talking about. when it comes. I have some in my head, and there's like obviously my first go-to is going to be what haven't we talked about on here, and what haven't like because pretty much anything we've talked about has either been a review when the movie first comes out or a versus. But there's been movies where you can't really do a versus because they're unique enough that nothing really goes with them. So that's where a lot of mine are probably coming from.
Fair. Ashley?
Sometimes I always try and theme it around whatever sort of time that we are.
Yeah.
So, given that if you work out what's coming up on the calendar over the next few weeks, you probably, well, you'll probably see what I'm doing when I announce it is. But I don't think it's not like directly tying in, but it is. But I'm being as vague as that. I might tell the guys off
I
air.
don't even remember what my next one's gonna be.
But I always think it's something that like I've enjoyed, and the advantage of it being a lot of the stuff I'm trying to pick is sort of British stuff that may not have had that much of a international awareness or acceptance.
Mm.
It's trying to showcase we made good films as well. It's not just Chariots of Fire when they saying the British are coming at the Oscars. There are other films.
I mean, I completely did not plan this coming out the weekend after Creed 3 came out. I really didn't at all. It's just how it fell. I mean, I have some great ideas for ones I'd like to do, but a lot of them have been covered on Versus. And I've proven that movies that I thought were attainable to view in one way, shape, or form have been very difficult for me personally to find to get my rewatch so I can have it fresh in my head. So I feel that the movie coming in 2 weeks is going to be fine. I have a feeling I'll probably be able to find it somewhere. But I mean, I guess we'll just, if not, there'll be a link sent my way.
The crying game has been on Tubi forever. I'm assuming it's still there.
Yeah, but I've noticed that Tubi sometimes charges.
If there's just ads involved, that's it.
Huh. I have to look into it. Yeah, but there's lots of things that come to mind. Like, I've brought up movies that I've enjoyed throughout the years. Getting some awareness for comedies that you probably have never heard of. So I guess that's what mine has been. Parsnip Burger asks if you're doing hop for Easter, Ashley.
Oh no. I mean, it's Easter related, but not how you think.
Oh boy. So yeah, I think for me, again, like I said, still holds up. Still just as funny. It's crazy to see where everybody that's in the movie now, where they are currently, and how their careers have all changed.
Oh wow! I just realized something.
Go ahead.
My next pick after the crying game has 2 cast members from The Great White Hype in it.
Ooh.
Okay.
I think I may have figured out a one. May potentially. We'll see.
I'm definitely covered then.
Jesus of Nazareth. That's a good 6 hours. Says Parsnip Burger.
Again, I mean, you're sort of going down the right route, but you're being a bit too on the nose.
I mean,
I've actually just checked. I guess because it's a significant film. Crying Game is actually on permanently on all 4. So I definitely can't avoid it off there. And America-wise, It's streamable on HBO Max, Showtime, Tubi with ads, and DirecTV.
I haven't I haven't upgraded to Blu-ray yet, but do you know where I got this DVD for the Crying Game?
No.
Do you remember? First of all, do you remember a store called Electronics Boutique?
I remember
Oh
eating.
God,
God,
You
yes.
remember how,
they
remember
had a shop. They were over here before they became Game.
Yep.
you remember how they would have little crates of used movies right on the outside of the door?
Yes.
That's where this came from.
Good Lord. It was Electronics Boutique, and then it was EB Games, and then that's what turned into GameStop.
Yeah, the irony is my selection is, although it's technically I think the same production company. That is only on a 30-day and then get disappearing. So the fact that Crying Game is there, 24/7, 365, I guess is good.
Oh, and fun fact, the exact same crate at the exact same time I bought that Cron Game DVD is where I got my DVD for Menace to Society. That was a really good day.
Brian asked if it's Passion of the Chris. Comedy for two is still comedy.
It's not directly to do with anything Easter related. It's just the title is Easter related.
It's going to be Jesus playing golf, right?
Oh, in the back of my head, I kept thinking Dogma. Which,
Oh, God, that'd be great.
I'll tell you guys when we're done.
The irony that it's not me that does the first Kevin Smith movie on this movie club. I got plenty of things I can talk about. I think that's going to be your show. Short, straight, and to the point, just like the movie. How appropriate. So this week, oh boy, season's finally over. Thank God. We'll find out if AJ or Ashley wins the competition Sunday night. So as soon as the Oscars are over, we'll go live and do our recap show, and then we'll throw you guys a QA show on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And the week after, AJ's pick of the Crying Game, episode 25.
So for the Q&A that week, we'll have the vote open, but we'll work it out. So I think it'll be probably, if I have a quick check just now so you guys are aware. So that'll be in or around, the first of the four will be in around the 3rd of April-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Then 17th of April for the second pick.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the viewer choice, which is May 1st.
Yes.
Which will then go into May the 15th and May the 29th. So we're sorting out the next couple of months pretty much.
And eventually we'll get there in total, but it's an ongoing process right now. Got to get through award season first.
Also, keep an eye on Owen's Twitter.
Yes.
Because the link will be sent to him to share to you guys to get into the Discord. My aim is to have it sort of like presentable and everything Friday.
This weekend it will be ready one way or another. Carson Burger asked, he says, I gave away my copy of that movie, Brian. I can't stand that film. Talking about the passion. Are you doing a watch-along stream for the Oscars? I mean, do you really want me to be pissed off for an entire 3 hours?
And also the stuff that I have to try and entertain Owen, I don't want to get copywritten by the person that's creating this with their genius AI system.
Yeah, I won't be here anyway.
Yeah.
So even if I could be,
you couldn't be.
I genuinely do not want to watch the show with Owen. I'm going to be honest with you.
I don't want to watch the show with Owen. It's going to be a lot. Will be a lot of dead air because I'll be muting a lot of the shows. So, but luckily, after potentially Monday, because I have a feeling there's going to be a little bit of straggler conversation in the Monday show, given the fact it is a QA show. I will hopefully never have to talk about the overrated multiverse movie ever after this week.
Well, I mean, if something drastic happens again, we'll probably be talking about anything but the winners like we were last year.
That's good. I'm good with that.
Even with their new crisis team or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Alliance Crisis.
So basically, they've kind of got themselves like a team that can come in and make sure that if they think something's going to go down, they can stop it before it happens. Well, they're going to hose people down on the stage. They got their super soakers from 1994, like shooting at people when they get in. It's like we got a target on the guy. He's about ready to walk up, and his pants are now wet. He's walking back down the stairs. Mission accomplished, gentlemen.
I'm just imagining an alternate universe where Will Smith got randomly tackled by like 5 different people before he could strut to the stage.
That sounds like a Naked Gun bit.
Yeah.
100% sounds like a Naked Gun bit, but it wouldn't be Will Smith. It would be obviously OJ.
Well, wasn't the second or third Naked Gun movie, the climax is at the Oscar?
Yes, it is. Let's see, Vanna White and Weird Al Yankovic. No! Your glasses have to suck to believe either of those. But yeah. So yeah, we'll be live after the show's over. We got the QA on Tuesday. Ashley's going to have more videos coming soon. Don't know when. There's a lot of question marks right now about content. Don't worry. Again, like I said we'd be caught up by February. It's award season, so we're kind of behind a little bit. But that's okay. We'll get caught up, and once we are caught up, you shouldn't have to worry about a drought like this until probably Horror Nights time. But I can only imagine what AJ has planned for the 3 months this year or so.
Thought about going ahead and starting shooting videos for September. So
I wouldn't get those Santa Clauses out of the way. We go off to the races, good sir.
I honestly, I swear, I keep forgetting about that until you mention it. So you're gonna have to keep mentioning it.
I will. And then we have 2023 movies for AJ to talk about too.
Yeah, I took notes on while I was watching Creed 3, and it was like, I'm not sure when I'm going to use these, but I know I'm going to need them, so I'm going to go ahead and take them.
So, of course, Ashley can be found on Twitter at Ashley'sMindUK. AJ cannot be found on any form of social media, just like Keith Richards cannot be killed by conventional weapons. But if you want to show up on May 1st, you can ask us anything that's been covered on this channel before. This is not a traditional show. We're not playing improv games. We're not talking about movies or anything like that. It's literally going to be a Popcast Network retrospective.
I mean, if I had to guess, I'd say movies are going to come up.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about traditional movie questions we normally get asked. We'll have a QA show for that, but that'll be completely independent from this. This is a special show. We'll check the schedule to see what it's going to be about by that time. And then, again, like Ashley alluded to, you'll be able to pick your choice for what could potentially be the next movie club on May 1st. So it's our first time that we're letting the chat pick what they want, and then we're going to select. So that's coming up. Follow me on Twitter at SirOwenDisney for more information about the Discord coming this weekend and more information about what's going on. Yeah, that's your show. Thanks everyone for watching tonight, and we will see you literally Sunday night at the Oscars for our final show of this Oscar season as we kick in a just off season starting on Monday. That being said, Thursday, finally, Brainwashed, coming out. We've waited forever for it. We've heard it in concert. Now we can finally sing along to it before the tour starts. Streaming on all your streaming networks. Everything, just check out Intellectual Property when it comes out. It's going to be a big year for water parks, mark my words. That being said, I want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching. And until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all we got to say about that.